Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of ESPN FC Live. It's a bit early for us, but hey, who needs coffee when you've got Nicol? It's not early for the big man here, and Eddie Howe was a very happy, smiling man at halftime when he spoke in the tunnel during Newcastle's game against Chelsea, and then it all changed at the full-time whistle. Stevie, Newcastle leading 2-0 at halftime, but in the end, they had spoils with Chelsea as it ended in a 2-2 draw. Fair result?
Yeah, I think if you look at both halves, Newcastle completely dominated the first half, as you said, 2-0 up at half time. But second half, no question, Maresca's given his boys a kick up the backside, and they dominated the second half. So, yes, at the end of the day, 2-2, you probably should say that both sides deserve the point. However, I think there's one point in the first half where this game could have been done. Voltemada had already got two, and just before half time he had an opportunity. If he had taken a better touch, a better control in the penalty box, I think he would have scored his hat-trick and made it 3-0, and I think that would have been enough to see Newcastle through. But he didn't. He had a bad touch. He didn't in the end get an opportunity, and it was only 2-0. And of course, as we know, Newcastle, they're pretty good at squandering leads, and they've done it again today. So, yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's the right result. But a better touch from Voltemada, and the game could have been done at half-time.
Well, you did say it. A better touch from Voltemada. That first half from Newcastle was just sensational. Eddie Howe was beaming, probably saying that this was one of the best first halves he's seen his boys play in a long time. So how did it change so much in the second half? Did they take their foot off of the gas a little bit, do you think, or credit to Chelsea for finding a way back in?
No, I think you got to give Chelsea the credit. They took the initiative right from the get-go. You know, obviously they scored at good times. You know, Reece James's free kick gets them right back in the game, knocks Newcastle back on their heels. Beautifully taken, Reece James' free kick. I thought initially Ramsey could have done better, but when you see it from behind the goal, he had absolutely no chance. It was just so beautifully struck, so beautifully placed that even Ramsey or anybody else probably wouldn't have saved it. So, yeah, I think you've got to give credit to Chelsea second half. They completely started way faster than Newcastle. Newcastle never really got back in it. I mean, they had a couple of half chances towards the end, Newcastle, but in terms of the actual play, Chelsea totally dominated second half and deserved to get the point that they got in the end.
For the neutral, of course, it was a brilliant watch, but at full time, you know, there were a lot of boos ringing around St. James's Park. We know the atmosphere is brilliant, but you got the feeling that the fans felt that maybe some of the decisions went against them. There were a couple of VAR checks. Do you feel like they had a right to be aggrieved? Would Newcastle feel like some decisions went against them?
I'll be honest, the one that I thought more than anything, I guess you're talking about Harvey Barnes towards the end, but I think there was a penalty, probably around the middle of the second half, a challenge in the penalty box. I don't believe it was shoulder to shoulder. I think it should have been a penalty kick.
Ooh, all right, Stevie, going for that one. And then at least one of the good sparks, I suppose, for Chelsea, you did mention the Reece James free kick, but also Joao Pedro, who is somebody that we feel like we've been speaking a lot about once he entered Chelsea this summer. Just thoughts on your thoughts on his performance and, of course, the goal that we saw from him.
Well, it's a typical Joao Pedro performance. He knits things together. He's the link man. He comes short, plays people in. Garnacho got played in quite a few times actually down that left-hand side, but unfortunately for him, he smashed it over the crossbar most of the time, every opportunity he got. But Joao Pedro's goal, I mean, he's taken it beautifully. It's a shocking piece of defending from Joao, the Newcastle centre-back, but at the same time, Joao Pedro showed how cool, how calm he was when he gets through one-on-one with Ramsey and then just slots it home. So you got to give Joao Pedro huge credit. Just strong centre-forward play, holding off Joao, and then a super calm, composed finish to get the equaliser and make it 2-2.
And just highlighting again another Chelsea individual, just because, of course, you know, he's on his way back from what was a long injury, and that's Cole Palmer. Again, hard to put him under the magnifying glass because he is still making his way back from injury. But how do you feel he did today, Stevie?
Well, he was smooth, wasn't he? I mean, that's what he is. Everything he does looks easy and smooth and simple. You know, he didn't do anything extraordinary, but as I said, when he gets on the ball, you know, he doesn't give it away. Just makes nice passes with the correct weight to the correct place on the right foot. I mean, he's just a Rolls Royce, and of course, he's not quite 100% yet. And I'm sure when he is 100%, we'll see the spectacular Cole Palmer that we're used to seeing. But today, I thought he was cool, calm, and collected as usual, and very smooth, without being ridiculously outstanding as he normally is.
I suppose he didn't need to 100% today. Like I said, he's making his way back. We saw cool Cole Palmer, but maybe we'll see the cold Cole Palmer and that goal celebration soon enough. So Chelsea in fourth, remain in fourth with this time. Crystal Palace, though, hot on their tails. Newcastle, though, just outside the top 10 now. And it's just interesting because looking at their form this season, they went from struggling away from home to now struggling to get points at home. And it's wild because at one point we were talking about Newcastle not just pushing for the top four, but maybe trying to throw their hat in for the title race. It seems like they've been pegged back quite a few notches, Stevie. If you're Eddie Howe, what are you thinking going forward now for the second half of the season?
Well, I think he has to tighten things up defensively. We spoke earlier about, giving another lead away. And when you're 2-0 up at half-time at home, regardless of the opposition, you don't expect to lose the game. You don't expect not to win the game. And so if he can tighten things up defensively and get a settled back four, Ramsey's in today, Chow with that individual error really that has lost him the point. So I think if Eddie Howe can sort his back line out, then they will climb up the table. But until then, they're going to score goals, but unfortunately, they're going to let goals in, as we saw today again.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say we're just about 8 minutes away from the next kickoff where Manchester City will be playing. But interesting about Manchester City because Enzo Maresca, we've talked a lot about him this week, especially after his comments last time around saying that he endured the worst 48 hours of his life as manager there at Chelsea. We still don't know exactly what he's talking about. But then, Stevie, all of the links started, whether he was going to be, on his way out of Chelsea. We know that Pep Guardiola's time at Manchester City is coming to an end. With all these links and all these headlines following Enzo Maresca this week for Chelsea, do you feel like it's been a big distraction for Chelsea?
I don't think so. I think it's been a big distraction for Maresca, having to answer, a lot of questions on things that he really doesn't want to be talking about. But I don't really think it affected his players. I mean, the first half, I think you can put down to Newcastle. Newcastle being at home, that crowd behind them, and they get out the blocks. And when you're away from home, the first thing you have to do is try and contain the opposition and calm the crowd down. And they found that difficult in the first half, Chelsea. But second half, they managed to do it and then took control of the game. So I think you expect the home side to start the better of the two teams, which they did. But Chelsea, as I said, I don't think they were affected because we saw the reaction in the second half where they totally dominated the game and deservedly got the point. So, yeah, I think, if you're at Chelsea, if you're a player at Chelsea, you should be used to all the nonsense talking because there always seems to be something going on there. There's always talk about something, whether it's Maresca, whether it's the team being too young or the changes or the tactics. I mean, there always seems to be a story around Chelsea. So I think the players are used to the nonsense now and probably don't really listen to it.
All right. Well, in the end, Chelsea sharing the spoils with Newcastle after coming from 2-0 down to draw 2-2. Like I said, Manchester City about to play against West Ham United now in the Premier League. That's going to do it for us now. But we'll be back after that game. So join us right here on ESPN FC Live.